Hey, Mr. Chong. In this video, I will be talking about the Millerite movement and the beginning of the Adventist Church. Here is William Miller. William Miller was a deist. He accepted that there was a God, but he didn't believe that God necessarily interfered with the world. This meant he rejected the God of the Bible, which we believe in. He first began to believe in God after going through the War of 1812. Even though he went through so many dangerous battles, he was able to come out of it alive. Because of this, he believed that God was truly involved with this. After having that life-changing experience, he decided to devote his life to God. He began to study the Bible, going chapter by chapter, making sure he completely understood what was being said. While reading the Bible, he eventually reached Daniel 8:14. It says, "And he said to me, to 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed." Now, he wasn't so sure what that verse meant, so he studied it. He came to the conclusion that Jesus would be coming soon, around the time of 1843 or 1844. You may be wondering how he came to such a great conclusion from that small verse. I will explain. First, the time. In the Bible, it has been demonstrated how a prophetic day is equal to a literal year. For example, Numbers 14:34 says, "For 40 years, 1 year for each of the 40 days you explored the land, you will suffer for your sins, and you will know what it is like to have me against you." Here we can see how the 40 days in turn became 40 literal years. Ezekiel 4:6 says, "After you have finished this, lie down again, this time on your right side, and bear the sin of the house of Judah. I have assigned you days, a day for each year." Here it says that a day is equal to a year. If we apply the prophetic day-year principle, then 2,300 prophetic days would be equal to 2,300 literal years. In order to see when this 2,300 year prophecy would start, we will have to look at Daniel chapter 9. Here, another prophecy known as a 7 weeks prophecy was made. I won't go into what that prophecy was because it isn't that important to the topic, but what is important is the fact that this prophecy and Daniel 8:14 prophecy both start on the same date. The date is 457 BC, which is the date when King Artaxerxes had issued the decree to rebuild Jerusalem. If you were to look at a timeline and go 2,300 years from year 457 BC, you would reach 1844. It wouldn't be 1843 because the year 0 does not exist. Now, I will go over why he thought Jesus would be coming at the end of this prophecy. So to recap, Daniel 8:14 said that the sanctuary would be cleansed. Miller thought that this sanctuary would be cleansed by fire. If you recall the story of the Great Flood, God promised Noah that he wouldn't destroy the earth with water. Although he didn't say it, it is implied in the rest of the Bible that he would destroy it with fire. There are many verses talking about the coming destruction of earth. I will give one example. 2 Peter 3:7 says, "But the heavens and the earth, which are now preserved by the same word, are reserved for fire until the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men." William Miller thought that the sanctuary was the earth, and he thought that it would be cleansed by fire when Jesus would come again. There was also more reason to believe that Jesus would be coming soon. The Bible gives some prophecies that would be fulfilled before Jesus would come. The fulfillment of these prophecies led people to have more confidence that the Bible was in fact real and that Jesus was coming soon. In Revelation chapter 6, John talks about the 6 seals, or different things that will happen before Jesus comes. In Revelations chapter 6, verse 12, it says, "There was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood." So in this verse, he is saying that before Jesus comes, there would be a great earthquake, the sun would become black, and the moon would become red. All of these prophecies came true. On 1755, the greatest earthquake ever recorded had occurred. It was known as Earthquake of Lisbon. It was felt throughout Europe, Africa, and America. On May 19, 1780, There was a period of darkness in New England, United States, that had not happened since the time of Moses. It was known as the Dark Day. Later on that night, when the darkness had lifted, the moon was visible, and it was red. These are just some of the prophecies that were fulfilled. So, there were many people who began to believe in William Miller's idea that Jesus would be coming soon. These people were known as the Millerites, and they were part of the Millerite movement. The Millerite movement caused many people to take their relationship with Jesus seriously. It also led to many baptisms. Since the Millerites knew the date that Jesus would be coming, many decided to sell their possessions and give away their things to the poor. Many businesses were closed, and a lot of farmers didn't take care of their land. When the day, October 22, 1844, finally came, the Millerites all waited with excitement for Jesus to come. They waited and waited, but he never came. All the buildup that led up to this moment was for nothing. This was known as the Great Disappointment. There were two groups that came out of the Great Disappointment. The first group were people who decided to give up on Christianity and waiting for Jesus to come. The second group were people who decided to patiently wait for Jesus to come. One church that came out of this group was the Adventist church. It was started by a group of young Millerites who understood that William Miller did in fact make a mistake in his interpretation of the 2,300-year prophecy. The mistake that William Miller made was the assumption that the sanctuary was the earth. In reality, the sanctuary was heaven. Heaven was being cleansed from all the sins of God's followers. They were being forgotten and forgiven. Now, we Adventists are waiting for Jesus to come. I just hope that we continue to do the work of God, not because we fear judgment, but because we love Him. So that's it for the video. I hope you were blessed.